Good evening and welcome to the news. As usual, the Wednesday Bulletin is an eclectic lineup of views, reviews, previews and interviews. We'll focus on Nigeria and Nigerians, but our lenses will not, of course, miss significant developments across the globe. Tonight, ministries, departments and agencies of government face National Assembly scrutiny in different sessions of queries and commendations. On the economy, thumbs up from the World Bank on Nigeria's belt-tightening moves. Says there will be boom after the initial gloom. And for the latest from Rivers, the demolition of the State Assembly complex and the intrigues that will service the rubble. And in our special focus, scammers and hackers on the prowl, hoping to make a Yuletide payday. And the police unit gives us tips on unmasking the cyber masquerades. On the lighter business trends, condition is no longer bending the back of the crayfish, I must tell you. Its sellers are standing tall and smiling to the bank. We have these and other stories with unique insight and the third eye for details on our lineup tonight. But don't take my word for it. After all, the taste of the pudding is in the eating. I'm Henry John, and I welcome you to News Extra. Let's hit the road. The Federal Executive Council has approved the exemption of its tertiary education institutions from the Integrated Payroll and Personal Information System, IPPIS. State House correspondent Musbao Dan Wahab reports that it was part of decisions taken at a council meeting this Wednesday.
Flexibility came to play as the meeting of the highest decision-making body in the land held once more on a Wednesday as against the previous ones on Mondays. Necessity beckoned. The man in front would keep tab on situations across the ministries and the performances of his foot soldiers. For this day, the education as well as the aviation and aerospace development sectors got attention of the council. The tertiary education managements have over the years demanded, and their unions have pressed further for the exclusion from the IPPIS subscription and other related issues. The briefing afterwards, led by the Information Minister Mohammed Idris, reviewed the decisions. In what the Education Minister believes is a happy day for the sector, the protracted demand found favour of the Council.
The President has directed that Vice Chancellor should no longer or have been taken out of that service to allow for efficient management of the universities and tertiary education, generally speaking. Before now, when the tertiary education institutions want to make recruitment, they have to run to the office of the head of service. The council, through the directive of the president, has exempted them from that. We sincerely hope these measures will be responsibly reciprocated by the institutions, so that whatever has led to their being brought under those facilities will no longer arise.
Council also paid attention to the revelation by the Nigeria Customs Service that the waivers and concessions granted investors by the previous administration has resulted in a huge loss for the federal government to the tune of 1.3 trillion naira in 2023 alone. The government wants a review.
Council has decided to look at those waivers and review them so that Nigeria will not continue to lose money at a point that we all need these resources for the development of the country.
2 memoranda for the aviation sector were also approved. One is on a technical support contract for a Chinese company in the sum of 4.1 billion naira to maintain the new wing of the Murtala Mohammed International Airport in Lagos for a period of 5 years.
We have said that they should maintain their chillers, the air handling units, the passenger boarding bridge, the escalators, at the concourse, the remote boarding lifts that were specifically made for the physically challenged, and all those facilities they put there.
The council also approved more than 2.2 billion naira for the procurement of navigation equipment for the Port Harcourt International Airport. It is expected to enhance safety operations at the airports. From the State House, Musbao, then Wahab, NTA News.
Many thanks, Musbao. The Office of the Head of the Civil Service of the Federation has, over the years, carried out verification of human resource records on the IPPI's platform for all the civil servants in core MDAs, which led to the suspension of salaries of 11,447 officers whose records were not verified. On account of the suspension, the verification portal was reopened for these officers to enable them to update their records online. Thereafter, they were invited for a verification exercise from 16th to 27th October 2023. A total number of 10,761 officers participated in the physical verification exercise, and the review of verified records was carried out in phases to ensure that only credible records were on the IPPI's platform. Subsequently, a total of 9,732 officers with cleared records were sent to the Office of the Accountant General of the Federation, and some of these officers received their salaries, while others will be paid in December with all the arrears. Files of 1,029 officers who have discrepancies in their records are still being expected from their MDAs to enable the office authenticate their records for payment. About 686 officers whose salaries were suspended did not show up for the verification exercise, and the salaries remain suspended on the IPPIS platform. In other news, the newly appointed chairman and members of the Federal Civil Service Commission, FCSC, have been sworn in. President Bola Tinubu performed the ceremony before commencement of the Federal Executive Council meeting. Again, State House correspondent Musbao Dan Wahab brings us details.
The new leadership of the Federal Civil Service Commission, FCSC, appointed late October, have passed the test and have been duly confirmed by the Senate. Tunji Olaokwa from Oyo State, a retired Federal Permanent Secretary and Professor of Public Administration, who will serve as the chairman of the FCSC, and the other 11 members of the commission took oath of office before President Bola Tinubu. The president, in an earlier statement by his advisor on media and publicity, Ajuri Ngelale, charged the new FCSC leadership to competently facilitate the transformation, reorientation, and digitization of a federal bureaucracy to enable growth and enhanced private sector participation in the development of the Nigerian economy in full adherence to the renewed hope agenda of his administration.
We need to beef up the capability readiness. We need to modernize by deploying technology. We need to reinstitute professionalism and competency-based human resource management. We need to move the civil service to a position where it could help government to deliver on its agenda.
President Tinubu also swore in Musa Adamu Aliyu as the new chairman for the Independent Corrupt Practices and Other Related Offences Commission, ICPC. Aliyu, who holds a doctorate degree in law, was appointed the Attorney General of Jigawa State in 2019 and was named as Senior Advocate of Nigeria designate in October 2023. The president had implored the new management team of the ICPC to always be above board as they discharge their duties without fear or favor concerning all matters before them.
I have taken out of office. I will abide by the oath of office, and I will discharge my duties in accordance with the ICPC Act to support the Renew Hope agenda of Mr. President. I want to assure Nigerians and Mr. President that I will lead by example. And I will also live above board, and I will abide by my oath of office.
The tenure of office for the chairman is 5 years in the first instance. From the State House, Musbau, Dan Wahab, NTA News.
And still on the renewed hope agenda, President Tinubu says his administration is committed to improving healthcare service delivery to Nigerians through investment and infrastructure, people-centered policies, and robust collaboration with sub-national governments. He made the remarks at the unveiling of Nigeria's Health Sector Renewal Compact in Abuja.
I believe that good population health is both a cause as well as a consequence of economic development. I also know that by increasing investment in health, Nigeria will be accelerating its human capital accumulation and development, likely to enhance our productivity for current and future generations. Health is back on the front burner.
The President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria there talking about the health sector. And joining us now is the Coordinating Minister for Health and Social Welfare, Professor Ali Pate. Many thanks for joining us, sir.
Thank you for having me.
All right, Prof, let's begin. While marking the Universal Health Coverage Day yesterday, Nigeria unveiled its Health Sector Renewal Compact between the federal government, the 36 state governors and development partners. Could you briefly tell us the key deliverables of the compact?
The compact has a laser focus on outcomes and certain key outputs. Those outcomes include improvements in immunization coverage, reduction in child mortality, improvement in antenatal care coverage and skilled birth attendance to reduce maternal mortality, and reduction in burden of disease, with specific outputs which include expansion of the functionality of the primary healthcare system, targets regarding retraining of frontline health workers, and expansion of those covered through the Vulnerable Groups Fund of the National Health Insurance Authority. Those are very clear deliverables that would be achieved in a compact that comprises the federal government, as led by Mr. President, and the state governors who signed on behalf of their state governments, and our development partners to move us all in the same direction with clear accountability mechanisms and ways to respond to the needs of the citizens and provide that feedback over time, how we're able to achieve this in the next 3 to 4 years.
All right, from what you've said, your strategic blueprint targets saving lives, reducing both physical and financial pain, and of course, producing better health, for all Nigerians. But in concrete terms now, what's your plan to achieve this, say, in the next 1 year?
We are going to expand the Basic Healthcare Provision Fund. We've raised resources, as you've heard from the development partners, which will complement what the Basic Healthcare Provision Fund provides, which means resources to revitalize the primary healthcare centers, the infrastructure, the basic equipment, the training of health workers, but also pool procurement of pharmaceuticals so that the most poor and vulnerable populations are able to access the commodities that they need, not only to prevent diseases that are vaccine preventable, but also treat those diseases. In addition, the instrument of the Vulnerable Groups Fund would be used to expand affordability of basic health care in those facilities through the population that we'll cover. And that is a transfer mechanism. The primary healthcare centers will be differentiated based on need, based on burden of disease, so that there is equity dimension, not just on the basis of equality, so that they have increased recurrent cost transfers through direct facility financing mechanism of the Basic Healthcare Provision Fund. That is the vehicle that we would use to expand the functionality of the primary healthcare centers and deliver services that Nigerians need. The overall orientation is to respond to the basic things that Nigerians are asking for, which the President has promised, and we would work very hard to deliver. But that will only be possible in partnership with the states, with our partners. And the compact that was signed yesterday was to really formalize that. It's a framework that allows us all to move in the same direction in responding to our citizens' needs.
All right, Prof. You just mentioned the states, and beyond, signing documents and, of course, the photo ops with the, state representatives, are you actually on the same page with these states, to ensure that there's unity of purpose in ensuring a better health system for all Nigerians?
In the process of developing this compact, we met at least 4 times with state leadership, with the Nigeria Governors Forum, briefed the National Economic Council, and took the discussion to the National Council on Health, the 64th Council on Health, which held 3 weeks ago in Ekiti State. And in conversations with the states, we approved this approach, the sector-wide approach, that is to revitalize the primary healthcare system. And we engaged with our development partners. In defining the compact that was signed yesterday, we worked together with all of them, and I think we're on the same page.
Okay, brilliant. If you're on the same page with the states, of course, Nigerians will be looking forward to something better in the health sector. But I hope this is not just going to be segmented, because we've seen that in urban areas, of course, the health services seem to be a lot better. What are you doing to ensure that there's accessibility and, of course, affordability in the long run for all Nigerians?
Well, the compact that was signed yesterday, I think it's unprecedented, where you have the NGF and almost all the governors present or represented in signing this compact, which means it is a genuine commitment of the federal government and the state governments in the presence of the president. That is a sound basis for us to think that we mean what we say and we will deliver on what has been laid out in that compact. Over time, the prioritization of health is for all of us Nigerians to ensure that the investments are made, the resources are provided, and that we get as much health for the money being spent, meaning value for money, but also more money allocated to health at all levels.
So what you're saying, in other words, is that we're going to see, these deliverables even in primary health centers in the remotest of areas?
Yes. I think if you listen carefully to what the president was saying, regardless of income or geographical location, the idea is that all Nigerians should have access to basic quality healthcare services.
Then talking about affordability, Prof, pharmaceuticals, the prices of pharmaceuticals at the moment is, affecting patients even more than ailments these days. Are you looking in that direction and ways to, solve the problem?
Yes, I think this administration is trying to solve problems that have been with us for decades. The fact that we import almost everything in our pharmaceutical sector. The local manufacturing is very limited. Those are the areas that the presidential initiative to unlock the healthcare value chain is trying to address. Now, before it addresses it over time, there are immediate steps that were taken in the 2024 budget proposal, which Mr. President led to the National Assembly. And if approved, we would have a pool procurement mechanism that will provide low-cost, high-quality, essential medications targeted at the poorest and most vulnerable. Inflation goes beyond the health sector, but in the case of pharmaceuticals, particularly for the poorest and most vulnerable population, they cost lives as well. And that's why the government is intervening in that direction while improving the ability of our local manufacturers over time to produce some of those pharmaceuticals that can be produced here, as well as vaccines and other biologicals. But it will take time, and it's a function of things that are partly beyond the health sector. But from the health sector itself, we will shape the market in such a way that we pool the demand, procure at low cost, and ensure quality of the medications that will be delivered to the front ends of our healthcare system.
Many thanks, Professor Lee Pate. That's a fine point to leave the conversation. Of course, we wish you the very best as you, carry on with your duties.
Thank you.
All right, away from health now. President Bola Tinubu has approved the suspension, removal, and replacement of some chief executive officers in the Ministry of Aviation and Aerospace Development. The move is aimed at bringing world-class standards to the Nigerian civil aviation space, notably in consumer protection, aimed at enhancing the well-being of Nigerian air passengers. Consequently, the president has approved Mrs. Olubunmi Oluwaseun Kuku as the substantive managing director of the Federal Airports Authority of Nigeria, taking over from former MD Kabir Yusuf Mohammed. Similarly, engineer Umar Ahmed Farouk is now the substantive managing director of the Nigerian Airspace Management Agency, replacing Taib Adetunji Odunowo. Alex Bade Jr. is the substantive Director General of the Nigerian Safety Investigation Bureau, replacing engineer Akinola Olatero. Professor Charles Anosike is now at the helm of affairs at the Nigerian Meteorological Agency, NIMET, as the substantive Director General, replacing Mansour Matazu. Joseph Shaka Imalige is now the acting rector of the Nigerian College of Aviation Technology, pending the appointment of a substantive rector in accordance with Section 13, subsection 2 of the Nigerian College of Aviation Technology Act 2022. He replaces Captain Alkali Mahmood Modibo. Captain Chris Najomo assumes office as the Acting Director General of the Nigerian Civil Aviation Authority with immediate effect following the suspension of Captain Musa Shuaibu Nuhu to allow for unfettered investigation by the EFCC into the activities of the suspended Director General and other senior officials in the Nigeria Civil Aviation Authority. President Bola Tinubu approves the commencement of a diligent process to be conducted by the Ministry of Aviation and Aerospace Development to recruit a substantive Vice Chancellor and other principal officers of the African Aviation and Aerospace University, AAU. The President anticipates that the new leadership across the critical sector will uphold the safety, convenience and comfort of the Nigerian people as primary and sacrosanct in all of the administrative activities due to the high cost of underperformance in the sector. The President demands the immediate establishment of world-class policy design, implementation and regulatory frameworks to reposition the sector in alignment with his renewed hope agenda. In other news, the federal government has thrown its weight behind the Nigerian creative and entertainment industry, pledging substantial support through investment in digital and creative enterprises IDICE program. Vice President Kashim Shettima at a meeting with key industry stakeholders led by the Minister of Art, Culture and Creative Economy, Hannatu Musawa, at the presidential villa, hailed the sector, describing it as central to economic diversification plans. The Vice President said plans are on for the allocation of funding from the IDICE program to the creative industry, recognizing its crucial role in nurturing the industry's entrepreneurial spirit and driving innovation. He disclosed that in response to the minister's concerns about budget allocation, the federal government has secured an increase from 1.1 billion to 9 billion naira for the ministry. Minister of Art, Culture and Creative Economy, Hannatu Musawa, lauded the federal government's engagement, calling it a testament to commitment to see the industry grow. She outlined plans to build a roadmap for the sector's flourishing and acknowledged the crucial role of intellectual property securitization in attracting investment. We'll take a break now. Please stay with us. Welcome back. The House of Representatives commends the Nigerian Television Authority for persistently protecting national interest and upholding national ethics and values in the face of dynamic trends, including threats of misinformation and the media space. National Assembly correspondent Mitari Ikme reports that this was when the Director General of the NTA, Salihu Abdulhamid Dembos, joined other heads of agencies in the Ministry of Information and National Orientation to defend their 2024 budget proposals before the House Committee on Information, National Orientation, Ethics and Values.
Especially on the issue of free coverage. The committee is going to take that up with the minister. So, because each and every agencies are having budgets for such line items.
We are so passionate about the NTA and the committee at our own level. We are ready to collaborate with you and make sure that the NTA become the pride of the nation.
For us is to service you, especially the three arms of government, that is the executive, the legislative, and of course the judiciary, and by and large Nigerians. And to do that, we cannot be blindfolded about money, but national interests must have to be addressed first before all other interests. As it is today, Nigerian Television Authority is partially commercialized. We are not fully commercialized. And that is the more reason why we must have to be careful with the way and manner we go about looking for money.
We can help NTA to get their COVID fund, intervention fund, because a lot of agencies benefited from COVID. So as with what you said, the information, the sensitization you give to all Nigeria then is a lot, and it impacts down to the root at that particular time.
Well, the committee adjourns budget defense of the Ministry of Information and National Orientation to Thursday, December 14th, 2023. The House of Representatives Committee on Solid Minerals has described the 29 billion naira allocated to the sector for the next fiscal year as grossly inadequate. This was when the Minister of Solid Minerals, Dele Alake, appeared before the Committee for Budget Defense. National Assembly correspondent Mitari Ikpe has the details.
The solid minerals sector is considered crucial to Nigeria's quest for economic diversification and industrialization, but lawmakers regard the 29 billion naira proposed for the sector in 2024 as paltry and inadequate to drive growth in the sector.
Let me use this medium to call on the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria to rethink and reconsider the paltry sums that were allocated to this sector. We must be careful not to kill the goose that lays the golden eggs.
Reeling out the potentials of the ministry's 7-point agenda for the solid minerals sector, the minister affirms that 250 billion naira is needed for exploration of minerals.
We need to have a formal structure that the multinationals can deal with. Now, these illegal miners are not your artisanal miners. These are heavy, powerful individuals in our country, and they are Nigerians.
At an interface with the House Committee on Population, the National Population Commission is seeking more funding for the conduct of the next national census.
We have to update the enumeration area maps. By the time we finish the enumeration area mapping, the building stock that we reported as 65 million may increase to something a lot higher, because Nigeria is a country where construction is going on daily, on a daily basis.
The commission says the president has the prerogative to announce the date for the next national census. From the National Assembly, Mitaire Ikben, NTA News.
We head to Borno State now, where Governor Babagana Umar Zulum has presented a 2024 appropriation bill of over 340 billion naira to the Borno State House of Assembly. Mohammed Gouni reports that the 2024 budget is tagged the budget of consolidation and progress.
The 2024 budget estimate is made up of 198.2 billion naira for capital expenditure and 142.3 billion naira as recurrent expenditure. It is to be financed from the recurrent revenue of 206.8 billion naira, which comprises statutory allocation and internally generated revenue, as well as capital receipt of 128.8 billion naira that include aid and grant, as well as capital development funds. Sectoral allocation shows that Ministry of Finance and Economic Development got 53.8 billion naira, closely followed by Ministry of Health and Human Services with 51.1 billion naira, while Ministry of Works and Housing received 45 billion naira for both capital and recurrent expenditure, among others.
Our agencies under the Ministry of Education that have played a pivotal role in repositioning the education sector. Some of 39 billion, 435 million, 468,000 have been allocated for both capital and recurrent expenditures.
Governor Zulum, who highlighted no fewer than 46 capital projects his administration plans to undertake in the 2023 fiscal year, also added that he will personally oversee the Ministry of Reconstruction, Rehabilitation and Resettlement, which got 20.7 billion naira in the 2024 fiscal year, following the demise of the commissioner in charge of the ministry. The governor also informed his intention to hand over a debt-free government to the next administration by paying all outstanding debt owed to civil servants and retirees, and further noted improvement in internally generated revenue, reaching 63% of set target. Speaker Borno State Assembly Abdul Karim Lahan assured the governor of speedy passage of the bill to enable government execute developmental projects. In Maiduguri, Mohammed Goni, NTA News.
And in the treasure base of the nation, concerns have continued to rise over the legal implications of having 4 out of 31 members of the Rivers State House of Assembly receiving the Rivers State 2024 budget proposal. Robinson Deratede, who spoke with some Port Harcourt residents, reports on the legal implications of the scenario that played out earlier today.
Residents of Rivers State were thrown off balance in the early hours of today when the reports of the demolition of the Rivers State House of Assembly complex was announced.
His Excellency also commissioned consultants who went into the structure and came up with an advice that it was no longer habitable and not very conducive for business. On the strength of that advice, the government had decided to demolish that structure and also provide a befitting place for members of parliament to transact their business.
They only do what is politically right. That is what they do. When he has said that he wants to renovate the House of Assembly, that before now the place was marked for renovation, and maybe this is the right time to renovate the House of Assembly, politically speaking.
A court judgment obtained by the 4 lawmakers loyal to the state governor, led by Edison Ehie, empowering Edison as the authentic speaker of the Rivers State House of Assembly, perhaps grants the group the power to receive the 2024 budget proposal from the governor. The question is, what is the implication of 4 out of 31 members receiving the budget proposal?
Certainly the decisions will not stand because they do not form a quorum. It's just like it's equivalent to them saying they want to impeach a governor, for instance, when they do not form a quorum, simply because the members who impeached him were not up to a 2/3 majority.
Another concern of Rivers people is how the Rivers State Police Command will interpret the judgments from courts of coordinate jurisdiction at a time like this.
Their sitting in compliance with the order of the court is acceptable.
This is a localized incident that happened within this area. It is not something trickling down to other parts of the state. Those willing to come home for Christmas, I beg you to kindly come home and spend nice time here with members of your family.
In Port Harcourt, Robinson Deratede, NTA News.
Many thanks, Robinson, for the update. Of course, interesting times ahead for the people in Rivers State. Now, looking at other stories now, a chieftain of the governing All Progressives Congress and former national vice chairman of the party, Northwest, Salihu Lukman, has described President Tinubu as a true Democrat and courageous leader. The chieftain, who has been quiet since his resignation as member of the National Working Committee of the party, says what the Tinubu's presidency requires is a collaborative effort to drive a process that is transparent, progressive, and result-oriented.
We're lucky to have President Asuwaju then as an aspirant. If we didn't have somebody with his weight, I am not very sure we will succeed to repel the attempt to impose a candidate. I believe Asuwaju is a committed Democrat and is a progressive politician.
Lukman appeals to party stalwarts to unite and pursue objectives that will put the party on the right track ahead of future elections, and announced that he is documenting happenings that shaped the party since inception to be unveiled in the coming days. All right, the Yuletide is here. You just need to look and sniff around to notice that Christmas is in the air. Well, for the Nigeria Police Force National Cybercrime Center, it's time for more work as it takes necessary steps to sensitize Nigerians on the dangers of clicking unknown links on social media platforms or subscribing to mouth-watering offers. Now, the director of the center, CP Ifeanyi Uche, says this is important in order not to fall victim of these cyber criminals whose activities heighten at this time of the year when many people are vulnerable to get rich quick schemes. Francis Fom has the rest of the story.
These days, statistics show that hardly a day passes by without an account on computer, mobile devices and networks being hacked. This ugly trend, the Nigeria Police Force National Cybercrime Center says, has assumed a worrisome dimension.
Most times they will call victims and tell victims, look, you're going to have a Zoom meeting and look at your phone, you're going to see 6-digit number, call the 6-digit number for me, I'll use it to activate your Zoom meeting. So why would somebody call you to give out 6-digit number that props up? You don't need to share that number with anybody. So once you share that number with somebody, they will use that number to log it out.
Cybercrime is not physical. It involves targeting information about the victims, although some attribute the rise in cases of cybercrimes to greed and poverty. Others believe it is because of unemployment. However, IT experts believe the advancement in technology is a major contributory factor. As the year is coming to an end with the people strategizing to end well, these cybercriminals are also strategizing to scam innocent Nigerians. And the common ways cybercriminals get through to victims' phone number is data breach. The information gained is shared or sold on the dark web. The more information a hacker has on the victim, the easier it will be for the hacker to hack into the victim's online accounts. CP Uche advises Nigerians to protect their personal information on their mobile devices and the two-way authentication, while assuring that the Nigeria Police Force National Cybercrime Center is working with network providers to nip the activities of these cybercriminals in the bud.
And of course, it could be a phishing link. And once you click on that phishing link, you've actually activated it. Sometimes they will even call a request for you. For your credit card information, your banking information, and you give out because you want to buy a bag of rice for 5,000 or 10,000.
CP Uche cautions Nigerians from clicking such links. Francis from NTA News.
Many thanks, Francis, for the heads up. Of course, some of these messages are really funny. I have Benny here who is ready for business news. But Benny, I'd like to ask you, have you gotten one of those funny messages, telling you that you become a billionaire overnight if you make one phone call or if you just send some digits to them?
Well, business doesn't work that way. And now, talking business, the Nigerian Export Promotion Council says, having recorded $2.539 billion of non-oil exports in the first half of 2023, the new management is set to build on such successes with a plan to triple export volumes in the next 18 months.
See, in the next 1 year to 18 months, we see a lot of our exporters triple their export. We have what we call the domestic export warehouse. We've started inspecting them. We want to use that as a one-stop shop where all the agencies, all the relevant agencies will be at a place where they'll do all the documentations. The products will be sealed, it will be containerized, and they'll go through the barge straight to the ship. That will reduce the bottlenecks that a lot of exporters are experiencing now. We want to do a whole lot in terms of certification. We all know that we have a lot of projects from different countries, so we want to do a whole lot in terms of certification. We are working with various agencies to ensure that these products are certified, and we are visiting some laboratories, and the reason some of these products are rejected is because they don't pass them through the laboratories to be able to identify some of those sanitary and phytosanitary chemicals. We are also looking at capacity building, but the main thing we want to do, we want to identify some critical products and see how we can improve the development of such products from the farm gate to market access.
And now talking energy, oil prices fell more than 3% to their lowest level in 6 months on concerns of oversupply and after U.S. economic data showed an unexpected rise in consumer prices. Brent crude futures for February settled down $2.79 to $73.24 a barrel. U.S. West Texas Intermediate crude futures for January slipped $2.71 to $63.61 a barrel. In the U.S., the Consumer Price Index unexpectedly rose in November, further bolstering the view that the Federal Reserve was unlikely to cut interest rates early next year. Global oil demand growth is expected to slow in 2024, with OPEC and the International Energy Agency split on the extent. OPEC and the IEA both update their forecast this week. And a quick look at the market. Nigerian equities appreciated by 0.33%. A total of 433.180 million shares traded in 6,650 deals, corresponding to a market value of 8.076 billion naira. Today's data shows 36% improvement in volume, 37% improvement in turnover, and 2% improvement in deals. The current market capitalization is 39.6 trillion naira. Access Holdings recorded the highest volume of 60.2 million traded shares, followed by Guarantee Trust Holding 49.4 million and Zenith Bank 44.8 million. Well, that is business news. Network news continues. Well, I say News Extra continues with Iyenre. Iyenre, it's nice doing business with you.
Many thanks, Benny. And talking about the hackers earlier, genuine business doesn't work that way. So, of course, let's look at other stories now. The World Bank has described President Bola Tinubu's removal of fuel subsidy and the exchange rate unification as critical steps that will yield the desired growth and development of Nigeria's economy. Bosede Ebo reports that this was at the presentation of the report on Nigeria's development update by World Bank Group in Abuja.
The World Bank projection after subsidy removal indicates that Nigeria is saving about 3.9 trillion naira revenue. To reap the benefits of the reforms by harmonizing actions is said to be a necessity for economic adjustments. This is the key message from the December 2023 edition of the Nigerian Development Update. These actors in the Nigerian economic financial ecosystem believe that Nigeria has the potentials to break out from economic instability.
What you want is resilient, sustained, and rapid, in fact, and inclusive economic growth. To achieve that, you first of all have to stabilize the economy.
We will be using inflation targeting, and we will ensure that the use of monetary policy actually cascades down and has an impact.
We realize that the value addition to those raw materials provide us more FX revenue. So now the administration is now focusing on processes or policies that will help to facilitate the creation of industries.
The government has also taken steps on the road to recovery in terms of tightening monetary policy, in terms of, thinking about ways of consolidating the fiscal.
Other aspects of federal government reforms were barriers confronting the non-oil sector, ranging from regulatory hurdles, logistic bottlenecks and port congestion to multiple taxation and corruption as impediments affecting economic growth. Meanwhile, these industry players believe Nigeria is on the right track on these reforms, but there is more to be done to stabilize the economy and create an environment for the ease of doing business. In Abuja, Bosede Ebo, NTA News.
Unilever, a foremost consumer products manufacturer, is marking 100 years of mutually beneficial trade partnership in Nigeria with a robust celebration tagged Century of Impact. The celebration is a platform to reminisce the humble beginning of the British company and appreciate industry players as well as government for creating an enabling environment for the company to thrive. Joel Pokwola reports that the Deputy British High Commissioner to Nigeria, Johnny Baxter, used the occasion to reiterate Great Britain's commitments to expand the bilateral relationship with Nigeria, especially in investment.
A century of impact is what succinctly captures the robust contributions of Unilever to Nigeria's economy. The company, which has been operating in Nigeria from its cradle, has deepened its force in the nation's manufacturing sector. Managing Director of Unilever and Board Chairman say, with the focal point of its 100 years celebration hinged on Century of Impact, building a brighter future together, sustenance of the economy and environment remains pivotal in the company's corporate objective.
We contribute to the economy, we contribute to the environment. We have collected 10,000 tons of plastic in Nigeria, removed it from the environment, and we build livelihoods by educating the youth and offering job opportunities.
For sustaining for 100 years, it's a big feat. And it's a time for reflection on what has sustained us.
Unilever Global CEO Ian Schumacher and the Deputy British High Commissioner to Nigeria say the celebration will be a springboard for new frontiers of expansion.
It's fantastic to see it having gone on for over 100 years now and growing. On top of that, there is also the relationship between the British government and Nigeria, and we are very keen to increase the trade between our two countries.
With one of Unilever's biggest factories established in Ogun State in 1982 still operating, Ogun State Governor Dapo Abiodun say Unilever has been a worthy development partner.
This pivot to locally sourced cassava starch has created over 25,000 direct jobs and empowered over 100,000 rural farmers and families.
Representative of Lagos State Governor and other speakers are optimistic that Unilever will continue to take the lead among brands making global impact. Unilever Nigeria has become a household name with its array of products such as Close-Up and Pespodent toothpaste, Knorr and Royco seasoning cubes, and other unique products. In Lagos, Joel Ukbola, NTA News.
Congratulations are in order for the company, and of course wishing them many more years. In what can be described as consensus democracy at play, new officers have emerged to see the affairs of the Independent Petroleum Marketers Association, IPMAN, for the next 5 years. The Chairman, Board of Trustees, Aminu Abdul Kadri, attributed the seamless process to consultations with key players as well as sacrifices by members who stepped down for others in the overall interest of the association. Lydia Sampson reports.
IPMAN members across the country, irrespective of differences, were for the first time on the same page as 11 new leaders across the country were elected unopposed. The elections over in record time. It was time for the swearing in.
Do solemnly swear to abide with the Constitution.
For the Chairman Board of Trustees, Aminu Abdul Kadri, and other key players here, the harmonious outcome is indicative of the new dawn for IPMAN.
I am full of joy that we have done it right. I am full of joy that there is no single dissenting voice here. And I am praying to Almighty Allah that all IPMAN members should embrace peace.
I am bringing all IPMAN members in Nigeria, wherever they are, that today has marked the end of all IPMAN crises.
I'm proud that we succeeded, among others, setting up the trajectory for progress for greater IPMAN going forward.
The new IPMAN president, Abubakar Megandi, wheeled out his projections. Topmost among them is a plan for an IPMAN refinery as soon as possible.
I will make sure that I bring each and everybody together by calling their attention and by creating other ways that they can be able to do their functions that they intended to do when they become a leader.
He also committed to working towards a strong and unified IPMAN that will guarantee a more proactive oil and gas value chain utilization. In Abuja, Lydia Sampson, NTA News.
Another break beckons at this point. Please remain with us. Welcome back. Bayelsa State is no doubt one of the states with large production of palm oil and contributing to domestic needs of the people and the GDP of the state and country yearly. This is, however, not without challenges arising from lack of mechanized equipment to boost large production for industrial needs and export. In this report, Doris Akumoye x-rays the common palm oil production in Bayelsa State and files in this report.
Bayelsa State is known to be one of the 8 oil palm producing states in Nigeria
And so, sustaining this record in line with the federal government drive for food sufficiency remains a tax, not just for domestic and industrial uses, but for exports. These demand longer man-hour due to its stringent processes of sterilizing, threshing, pressing, cooking, purification to arrive at the finished product.
Extract the oil. Then after the extraction, this pot, this is where we cooked the oil. Okay. Yeah, after cooking here, the oil is already ready for consumption.
We need empowerment from government.
Despite these potentials in the oil palm production, producers sometimes engage in local process of milling, which they say is not very hygienic. They appeal to the government to provide equipment to enhance production and reduce the challenges they go through. Producers equally enjoy great patronage from the public as dealers grapple with the stress of meeting up with customers' demands.
Like the road that the governor did is helping because through this road now we can get customer. We are getting customer easily.
Dealers who express willingness to expand production call on the state and federal government to invest more on palm oil production, encourage more youths to go into its business. In Yenagoa, Doris Akomonye, NTA News.
Many thanks, Doris. Of course, oil is good business, whether palm or crude, and there will be need to invest in that sector. Brilliant package there, Doris. Now, looking at other news, and of course, moving away from the glory of all lands to the land of promise. In local parlance, the vagaries of nature are responsible for the bent posture of the crayfish. Don't pity the sellers, though, because daily they count their gains while wiping their sweat. Our correspondent, OTB Achibong, follows the flavor of the crayfish from the riverbank to the commercial banks in this report.
Crayfish, according to research, is one seafood with a high content of protein and mostly consumed by many Nigerians, as there is barely a meal prepared without the use of crayfish, particularly in Akwa Ibom State. Little wonder crayfish has found itself in almost every Nigerian delicacy, putting this traditional spice in high demand even beyond the southern region of Nigeria. However, a lot seems to have changed recently.
The buyers buy from the fish side. As a result of the high cost of bread, they need to have the money so that they also pay their own.
We know I'm going to buy petrol, 250,000 for a drum to take go fishing. You fit go, come back, you know, fish anything.
Most fishermen there at the fisher ports, they use fuel to fish for us. So now that fuel is on high side. That is why crayfish is on high side.
As of 2 weeks ago, was buying crayfish at 80,000, 70,000. But just now, as I'm talking to you now, crayfish has risen to 120,000.
Aside the hike in the fuel pump price, insecurity in the waterways, one of which is sea piracy, is posing as another factor impeding the flow of this business.
They have been disturbing us for the past 10 years now.
The Oron crayfish markets accommodate sellers and buyers who throng the market on specialized days for the business, with of such persons coming from many other states. Worrisome, however, is the reduction of buyers due to the increment in the price of a bag of crayfish.
The government should look for a way, anyhow it may look like, they should find a way and help us because we are suffering so much.
Because the crayfish cost, customer no agree to buy.
From Oron local government area of Akwa Ibom State, Utabe Achibong, NTA News.
Of course, the crayfish is important in every delicacy, and I'm sure for women watching, you agree that the price needs to come down. All right. With the dynamic nature of democracy as a system of government, the role of journalists in interpreting policies to inform and build public trust, and formed a 2-day training on governance and policy for journalists to enhance effective reportage. Elizabeth Omori reports that the training at the instance of Premium Times and the Nigeria Governors Forum had the Director General of the NTA, represented by the Executive Director, News, Ayo Adeoye, and Directors General of other government-owned media outfits as guests.
You can live a long life and prevent transmission. So get tested today. Know your status and stop the spread.
Journalism plays a key role in nation building. Beyond entertaining,
informing and educating the populace. And to fully perform these roles, journalists must first understand the art of policy formulation and what goes into shaping policies for the benefit of the citizenry. This training platform therefore seeks to expose media practitioners to the current trends in reporting critical sectors of the economy through data usage, writing styles, fact-checking, online reporting, among other tools.
We really have one option: to work together to help build our country. And public policy, governance, it's really at the heart of it.
How often do we take advantage of the Freedom of Information Act? How many of us are aware of the search engines, various search engines that could aid our investigative journalism? At the end of this training, will we be in the right state?
We are going to be truthful, we are going to be consistent, timely, and believable about what we are going to say about Nigeria.
The media must remain in the vanguard of tracking the budgetary process to ensure that Nigerian people get the actual value.
To empower journalists to perform their constitutional role of holding government to account. So we will be talking about, in the next 2 days, this training will be talking about the kind of tools that journalists need to have, the kind of skills they need to have, so that when they report, they will be reporting authoritatively.
Participants explained that journalism globally drives implementation within the public policy value chain, and this forum is an eye-opener to the changing dynamics in governance.
You'll be able to report better, you'll be able to well-inform Nigerians and be able to bring it down to the language Nigerians can understand.
By so doing, I think it will have to reduce more than 60% of the burden that government is carrying in terms of trust factor with citizens, in terms of implementation of these policies and programs.
Investigative journalism, climate change, violent extremism, artificial intelligence, and food security were discussed, bringing in-depth knowledge. In Abuja, Elizabeth Omori, NTA News.
Indeed, the fourth estate of the realm really needs to up its game, and so there's need for training and retraining. And right here, the NTA, evolving trends and proliferation of technology in the broadcast industry is pushing leadership of the Nigerian Television Authority to take initiatives to adapt to the industry changes. One of such initiatives is the 3-day training retreat for staff of NTA News 24. Olusheye Adiagbo reports.
Economics.
All right, that report will come in the course of this bulletin, but for now, let's take a break. Stay with us. Good to have you back. It's nature's gift to mankind. It's used to build cities, a plant with high economic value that protects the environment, among other endless usage. It's also known as the miracle plant. Can you guess what I'm talking about? Oh yes, the bamboo tree. Is Nigeria taking advantage of the endless opportunities of this all-important tree? Well, correspondent Sawa Khalil Ibrahim will take us to the world of the bamboo tree as Nigeria celebrates World Bamboo Day.
Bamboo tree is the fastest growing plant on earth with immeasurable socio-economic potential. It can also be used to slow down the impact of climate disasters on the environment. Little wonder it is called the miracle plant.
As a matter of fact, there are countries that have already started wiping out the use of plastics and are replacing such with bamboos. If you notice, some airlines have started using the bamboo cutleries.
Nigeria is blessed with abundant bamboo vegetation, but unlike other parts of the world, the country is yet to harness the potential of the bamboo tree, though the Ministry of Environment is now beaming its searchlight on the all-important bamboo tree.
So let's try to do all we can to encourage the planting of bamboo. We do a lot in trying to curtail emission and other environmental issues.
There's need for us in the country to see how we can develop that sector.
So bamboo is very popular in China, and the chamber is ready to help Nigerians to improve the bamboo industry in Nigeria.
Do you know how richly blessed Nigeria is with numerous natural resources?
As Nigeria celebrates World Bamboo Day, there is a new commitment by the Department of Forestry and support from development partners towards using the bamboo tree for environmental restoration and job creation. Salwa Khalil, NTA News.
Many thanks, Sawa, for that report. I'm sure that a lot of people begin to look inwards now. So much in this country, and of course, so much to transform to wealth. All right. Innovative and transformative initiatives by the National Senior Citizen Center, designed to provide quality life for the elderly, have been exhibited at a fair to drive investments. Elizabeth Omori reports that key players in geriatric care at the exhibition advocate establishment of a ministry for senior citizens to drive inclusion for sustainable development.
Helping the elderly in society, psychologists say, is a collective responsibility that involves strategic action plans. In Nigeria, the National Senior Citizen Center has been championing life-changing programs for this category of the population. And this fair seeks to avail the private sector and governments the opportunity to assess services and programs aimed at promoting partnerships.
The President has provided graciously 5% of all the implementation of our social protection programs for senior citizens in Nigeria. And we're counting on the center to be able to get down to the grassroots.
I will also be looking at, putting some recreational things for senior citizens in the 2024 budget.
If the Act is saying that older persons should be insured in the NHIS, we should enforce that.
Effective policies and budgetary allocations, they insist, will drive the business of the care industry.
Our programs are community-focused. Our programs are intergenerational.
And these are the people who can do something. If you organize, if you employ them to do one thing or the other, they will help the nation.
Some of the services at the fair showcased initiatives by NSCC in healthcare, farming, crafts and skills, among others. Elizabeth Omori, NTA News.
Rest can never be too much, and so this break cannot be too much. Please stay. Glad to have you back. The Nigerian Television Authority stands to be counted towards national crusade in safeguarding Nigeria's natural resources in the interests of the nation. Omenka Amarachuku reports that this came to the fore when the management of NTA played host to the Community Development Committee of the Niger Delta Committee of Niger Delta Oil and Gas Producing Areas.
Economic sabotage through theft has become a major threat to the development of the Niger Delta region as well as the nation's economy. And series of reforms have been championed by government in synergy with affected communities to nip the menace in the port with solutions in sight. Now, the Community Development Committee of the Niger Delta and Oil and Gas Producing Area are in NTA for engagement, enlightenment and advocacy.
While we apportion blames to the communities, we must take cognizance of international criminal activities that take place in the high seas and also within the crude oil loading terminals.
Be rest assured that NTA will support you 100% in your planned sensitization campaign to create awareness in the oil and gas producing communities in the Niger Delta.
The partnership is aimed at driving a course that will guarantee the restoration of the federal government renewed hope agenda for human and infrastructure development. In Abuja, Omenka Amarachuku, NTA News.
Up next is sports, and Austin Ademudu will guide us.
Minister of Sports Development John Eno says Nigeria will avoid the mistakes of the past
by putting in place strategic and workable plans to excel at upcoming international competitions. ENO assured this in Abuja at the opening of our two-day ministerial retreat on athletes' performance at the 2024 African Games, Olympics and Paralympic Games.
No matter how talented we are as a nation, unless we prepare for qualifications and unless we prepare for the main events, the Olympics and all of that, we cannot do well.
As the 2023 National Para Games in Abuja draws to a close on Thursday, Timothy Bakara of Edo State, Liberty Bright from Bauchi, and Samson Okpara from Bayelsa State have written their names in the medal tables in 70 kg Taekwondo main category at the Moshood Abiola National Stadium, venue of the Games, after an impressive outing.
It's God that is the motivation, and God alone. I cannot do it on my own, but God help me.
God and Bayelsa State, man. My love and my allegiance, and wow, Bayelsa, you're too much.
The Turkish FA says there is no possibility that referee Halil Umut Mela will quit after being punched in a Turkish top-flight match. Ankara Gucci's president Faruk Kosa was arrested on Tuesday after he ran onto the pitch and struck Mela following Monday's 1-1 draw with Kayserispor. All leagues were suspended, but the Turkey Football Federation say they will resume on 19th December. With sports update, I'm Austin Edemodu, NTA News.
Light, acceptance, and eternal reward formed part of prayer request for late veteran broadcaster Aisha Bello Mustafa, whose family and friends gathered at her residence for the customary Fidal prayers offered by Muslims for the departed on the third day. Najatu Tijani reports.
A bittersweet gathering of memories while mourning. It's the third day since veteran broadcast icon Aisha Bello Mustafa left this world. Accepting this reality is hard, family members say, but they can find comfort by invoking prayers and charitable acts on her behalf. This is why they have gathered here on the third day to offer prayers for light, acceptance, and eternal reward for the icon who spent 35 years serving the nation through the Nigerian Television Authority.
We Muslims believe that when you are this sick before you pass on, Allah has erased a lot of your sins.
I think the NTA family, they are missing her, even after her retirement.
Good memories, they add, will also ease the burden of grief as family members share some of late Aisha Bello's moments and also acknowledge the huge support from citizens all over the country.
We want to acknowledge the condolence message of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu and all the condolence messages we received via the print media, the social media, and the electronic media.
While the late icon might be in the news because of her demise, the good news is that her legacy will live on in the hearts of Nigerians. Najatu Tijani, NTA News.
Well said. Of course, may the soul of Aisha Mustafa rest in perfect peace. Amen. And that concludes News Extra tonight. Many thanks for being a part of it. Enjoy the rest of your night.